Hey guys, it's Daniel from ValveTech, and today I'd like to talk about the current state of the Scout in Team Fortress 2, and moreover some of the current balance issues our favorite toy boy Jeremy has been having since Jungle Inferno, because well, in all honesty, his weapons are kind of sucky as of right now. This video is heavily inspired by Uncle Dane's What's Wrong with the Engineer, which I'll have linked down below, of course, if you'd like to check that out. I really liked the pacing and formatting of that video and decided, hey, why not make one based off my main, which of course is Scout, so while he's more of a basic class and is more linear than, say, the Engineer, he still has some problems to him that I'd like to address because they're pretty important to me. And for starters, I'd like to address what the Scout's role is and generally what his job is on the battlefield. The Scout is the most highly mobile class in the game, with his ability to not only double jump to traverse terrain, but also to move 33% faster than the base speed of the game, making him extremely agile. As Scout, you could be an aggressive offensive unit, but also a pretty aggressive defender, as his mobility allows you to easily fall back or push forward. Generally, a Scout, you have some main targets you want to go for before anyone else. The medic first and foremost is usually the person you want to try and waste before anybody else. Taking down sustainable healing usually allows your team to do cleanup pretty fast. This can be usually done with great succession due to his high mobility that the Scout offers, allowing you to flank around the map and catch opponents off guard. However, snipers and spies are also very to take care of due to their relatively more reserved playstyle. I consider Scout more of a generalist class. Like Soldier and Demo, he's very interchangeable in his combat abilities and can change from offense to defense, or from defense to offensive very quickly, making him a very dynamic class. However, like all the mercs, each class has a direct counter, and for Scout that is mostly the Engineer and the Heavy. These two classes have high DPS weapons that could rip the Scout to shreds in pretty much moments, while the Heavy can be taken out pretty easily on the flank. You're not flanking no sentry gun. Otherwise, every other class is either on the same level or below the Scout as far as like one-on-one situations go. What makes the Scout so effective is his ability to pick fights and win them with his high mobility. Tied in with this scattergun, which can dish out over 100 damage per shot at point blank, and you have a class that is truly a force to be reckoned with, and it's no surprise he's part of the 6's meta in competitive mode. I mean, he's basically kind of a big deal. However, he's not perfect, and at least in pubs, the number one issue is having more than 2 Scouts on the team. While I know this is only constituted by other players picking him, Scouts are really not that good at numbers, or from what I've seen actively in play. While some classes stack can usually work most of the time, such as Soldier, Heavy, or Engineer, Scout is just too flimsy, and having more than 2 or 3 could really disrupt the team balance and the flow of the game. And the charm of flanking in general just becomes kind of futile. If a Scout was flanking the same route every 10 seconds, the enemy really isn't going to be that surprised when you come around the same flank point. And considering that is one of the Scout's best abilities to get behind his opponents and dish out damage, it gets completely cancelled out. And in the rare event that all the Scouts are generally pretty good, I guess it could work out, but that could apply to any class. But if you were to have 5 people with average skill playing any of the same class, it would just kind of be a shit show, and the Scout is similar to that degree. However, my second issue doesn't come directly from the Scout, but his weapons and unlocks that accompany him. Jungle Inferno in particular was the main killer behind most of these unlocks, and I really feel like the Scout just got some pretty unjustified nerfs to his weapons. A big example of this being the Pretty Boy's pocket pistol. This thing was basically a mini blue starter for the Scout back in the day, and was actually a pretty decent side grade from the other pistols. However, Jungle Inferno basically buried this thing into the ground by lowering its clip size down to 9 puny shots, and removing really one of the coolest concepts I've seen on a Scout weapon, which is of course that the Scout wouldn't take any fall damage when the weapon was deployed. The pistol is really now just a hollow shell of what used to be, and it was never really that overpowered to begin with. The 2 sodas respectively being the critical and Bach atomic punch both took huge nerfs that make them more situational than they already were. Outside of Jungle Inferno, many of the other scatterguns took huge nerfs, and really all became situational weapons. Outside of stock and a handful of melee and secondary options, the Scout doesn't have much breathing room for, well, diverse playstyles and just fun. After Jungle Inferno, he sort of fell into the same boat as Heavy, having very linear and boring playstyles that get stale pretty quickly. Luckily, I never seem to get bored of it, mostly due in part to the Scout's personality, but also because I enjoy his high-octane gameplay, but it's really besides the point. What I'm getting at is that the Scout has really no options of viability, with the stock loadout being good, and only a few other interchangeable melee and secondaries that diversify the loadout. I feel like the Scout, in a sense, needs his own update that just focuses purely on reworking all his items that he currently has, because as it currently stands, they're all really either very underpowered or situational, and take loads of time to get competent with, which, while that is more of a personal problem, you are putting in a lot of time into these weapons that give very little back as a reward, as far as like killing potential and ability. I mean, looking at this chart I made, as far as what I consider the balance of all the Scout weapons, it's really thrown off, and as said, Jungle Inferno really closed off a lot of different playstyles. One of the most common ones being the Cleaver Sandman combo, which of course was a really nice combo back in the day. It was really one of the more diverse ones he had, but ever since it got nerfed, it really just kind of shut it out, making his playstyle even more linear than before. While I believe these changes kind of were important though, especially the Sandman, since stun mechanics are extremely outdated and annoying, I feel the Scout as a class was nerfed heavily in Jungle Inferno. Not saying he's completely unviable. As I said, he's still a generalist class and one of the top picks on any team. He definitely is now a little bit more boring than he was before. Stock really reigns supreme here, and really the Winger and Mad Milk are the only two alternative side grades I think I would use besides the stock pistol. And outside the stock bat, which I personally think is the most reliable last method damage dealer, the Boston Basher would be my second pick, due to its utility as also an uber builder in favor of being a reliable melee weapon. The Atomizer is also pretty okay, but as said, it's sort of more of a utility than a melee weapon, which in all honesty can be pretty frustrating in melee fights where you have your back to the wall and nothing else to use. Outside of the Soda Popper, I would sum up the other Scout primaries to being laughed at by Aligned Scun for an hour straight, as they all have terrible penalties that for upsides that are extremely situational or really easily counterable by other players. I mean, I really have nothing to say about the Scout's loadout balancing besides the fact that it's just extremely unbalanced, and well, while I'd like to say I'd like to see this get changed, we were fairly confident in the long-awaited heavy updates, so I wouldn't get too wrapped up in any sort of change or really any sort of diversity in Scout anytime soon. So with some final thoughts pertaining to the balance issues with Scout and his role, I think the weapons need to rework as they're either too viable or too garbage. I would like every TF2 team to stop stacking Scout and defense when we're playing Dust Bowl. And please, for the love of God, nerf lime green paint. For the love of fuck. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the concept of this video. I really didn't mean in any way to steal from Uncle Dane. I just simply wanted to talk about Scout in the same critical manner that he did with the Engineer. Of course, I'll link his video down below for anyone who somehow saw this before his video. With that, tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, sorry for the lack of uploads. I've been pretty busy this summer, but still want to deliver new content. I'll be gone in Texas for a week, coming up pretty soon, so hopefully I'll have some videos scheduled for when I'm gone. Aside from that, let me know what type of videos you'd like to see, and I might consider turning into a video. Besides that, guys, as always, leave a like on the video and consider subbing to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, guys, thank you, and have a good day.